Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Aaron. Welcome to episode 10 of my artist series. This week is a buddy of mine, Carlos Baruch, goes as G Dubs. Super excited to talk to him today. He's doing big things down in LA. He's head of Sacred Grounds parties down there, and he's just one of the most humble, most genuine, kind guys that I've had an opportunity to meet, and honor to call him a friend. And I'm really excited to get started and talking to him. So let me get him added, and we'll get started. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Fantastic. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hell
Thank
yeah,
you for
brother.
having
Good to
me.
see you.
You too, man. You look
Man, been a
good.
while.
Yeah, it has.
Hey, fun fact. I had a little memory pop up on Facebook, and it's
Uh-huh.
2 years, 2 or 3 years to the day, April 3rd, that you played up here in Sacramento for the Technicolor party.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
It's
Time
crazy
flies, huh?
timing. Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy
man. I
timing, that's
guess
for sure.
the stars in the universe wanted it to happen this way.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I don't know if you've had a chance to catch my previous interviews or not, but I'm just basically, having chats with people in the house music scene and just kind of going over life experiences and pretty much, how we live a house music lifestyle and just getting, a lot of friends and a lot of artists experience and testimonies, and figured you have some good stories to share. So I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, well, again, thanks for having me, man. And I'm delighted, I'm excited, and I'm very grateful that you would even invite me. So it's a pleasure being here. So thank you for having me.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Why don't you share with us how you got started in house music, and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, how much time do we have?
Well, let
Um,
brother.
all right. Well, let's see. I got started in house music through the rave scene, of course, in the early 90s here in LA, going to raves. And I had a couple of friends that were older. I was like 16 at the time, and a couple of my other friends were already 21. So they would always drop us off after the rave, probably, when I mean drop us off, I'm saying like, probably about 2:30, and they would always go to the after hours. And one day I was like, man, I want to go. And he's like, they would always like, oh, it's 21 and over, it's 21 and over, and I'm like, but it's an after hours, and they just didn't want these kids hanging out. But one day they actually took me, and we went to this club called Flammable Liquid, which Doc was the resident at. This is like 92 probably. So yeah, I was like a junior in high school,
Damn.
and we went, and of course it was 21 and over. So I was stuck outside for a while, just I want to go in, I want to go in. Eventually, somehow, some way, somebody walked me in, and I went in there, and I heard Doc Martin playing, and I just remember like, oh my gosh, like it was just completely different world from the rave scene. Like the rave scene back then was very colorful, very, very like young.
Candy kids.
And yes,
Yeah.
exactly. What's the beginning of the Candy Kids now? And the after hours was more mature. There's a lot of older people there, and the music was what really drew me to it because Doc Martin, Barry Weaver, all these guys, playing in LA back then, especially at a young age, I was just blown away by it. I couldn't believe all the different people that were there, all walks of life, you know, um,
What are some of the
from
things that stood out for you the most at that age when you experienced that? What were like the top couple things that you're like, oh my God?
um, the main thing was that stuck out for me was how these promoters and these DJs were able to bring all these different people together into the one roof. And again, like I was saying right now, all these different walks of life. I was just amazed. Like, back then we would have celebrities, young celebrities at these parties, River Phoenix showing up, just all these, and then you have like, some gangster dudes there, from Watts, like cholo looking guys. And then you have, your suburbanites, and then you have your city folk, and then you have your surfers, so that's how it really was. And then you had the artists. So that was the main thing that drew me. And of course, the music.
And no doubt, just good vibes all throughout the party as well, too. So it's really amazing, just going to different parties myself and having those different types of experiences. You hit
Hmm.
the nail on the head, like just being united by by the music and like
Hmm.
you seen all these different types of people, different backgrounds, but everybody's vibing, everybody's loving, and everybody's enjoying themselves for one brief moment in time. I think it's just one of the most fantastic experiences we can ever have.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, because I was part of it at such a young, early age of even the electronic music scene, it already had been going on in Europe probably since the mid 80s. But when they started bringing it to America and then it finally made its way to the West Coast, to be a part of it, as a party goer and not even a person who threw parties, it was, comparable to like our parents going to Woodstock and being part
Sure.
of that love generation, So it
Yeah.
was our love generation at the time. So it meant a lot to me to be a part of something. People welcomed me with open arms, and I never felt threatened. I never felt like I wasn't accepted. I never felt like any of those things that sometimes you go where normal society is, and you feel those things. So that's why I love it, and that's why I'm still drawn to it.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And I know that you have your own collective down in LA, Sacred Grounds. You've been doing it for years. Um, how long into the scene were you before you decided to start that collective? And how did that
Um,
whole thing?
Well, and I was a senior in high school, and one of my friends, Mark Olivas, who's he's an artist. He still goes out here and there. He approached me and my cousin Eddie, who Eddie used to help me out with the raves back in the day as well. He approached us and he was like, "Hey man, I know you guys got some money, like, because we worked in high school, and it was like, let's put our money together and let's do our own rave." So we threw
Like,
a couple of raves, and then when I started really going, when I became over 18 and I started going to the underground house music stuff, I was really drawn to that. And I was like, I love the raves and I love the vibe of the raves, but I think the musically, house music is where I wanted to go with it. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it at that time, but I knew I wanted to be a part of it and I knew I wanted to present it in my own way. So in 1995, my cousin Ruben, and it's always been a family affair. My cousin Eddie, my cousin Ruben, my cousin Ina and Maury, Cecilia Cece, she's on the radio down here on 92.3. She's a radio host. She actually introduced me to the rave scene. Her and her sister took me to my first time. But in '95, Ruben and I got into Sacred Grounds, and that was the first year we threw it. And we had house music in combination with rave DJs because that's how it kind of was back then.
sure.
And we launched it in '95. Our first party, we got probably about 300 people. Nobody knew who we were, so we were excited to even get like over 100 people. We were excited, so that was the year it started off for me.
Hell yeah. What's been your most memorable party that you've thrown so far with Sacred Grounds?
Oh man, that's a really
Yeah,
tough
a lot of them. You
question.
just posted one a couple days ago about the acid house party with Yano.
Yeah, yeah, that one is a memorable set for me. That definitely is, but I think gosh, there's just so many, but I think to narrow it down was probably the 20-year anniversary when we had Mark Farina and Doc Martin play. That was also my 40th birthday party celebration.
Oh yeah.
And I was either going to go and do this big family celebration and invite all my family and rent a hall and go that route, or I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I want to do for my 40th. And if my family wants to come and be a part of it, then they're all more than welcome to come. And I would love to. And that way I could share this milestone achievement as well as a milestone birthday with my family, who's the rave and the underground house music family, as well as with my blood family and my close friends who no longer went out to events. And it was a success. It was a success in that right because a lot of people did come out. Friends who've never seen friends in over 20 years stopped going out, got married, stuff like that. Relatives who probably went out once or twice to come support me come out 20 years later, to come support. And then, of course, we had all my LA Underground house music family there and my two favorite DJs in the world playing for me. So it was, I cried, tears of celebration, looking out at the crowd and seeing all these beautiful people there and the sets that Mark and Doc delivered, it was just a nostalgic moment for me because you know how it is with music. You're a DJ, you hear that one track, and it takes you back, like you said, it takes you to that
Yeah.
time. And Mark equally played just as much as Doc, where they had that nostalgic moments for me playing, certain records.
Yeah, and not only that though, but just standing back and just seeing the vibe and then the shit that you created come to life and everybody's enjoying themselves. It can definitely be a very visceral reaction. Like you have like an emotional reaction to it. So I definitely
Right.
connect on that level, man. I love how you just connect your family and you just have everybody vibing and have your small community and just it does become like a vibe and a love and a family affair, so
Hmm.
to speak.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the moment when I looked out and then, like you said, seeing all these faces and seeing all these people and everybody just smiling. And there was a couple of pictures that I had a photographer friend who took pictures for me. And there was a couple of pictures that he was able to capture where I saw some of my cousins just vibing, just big
Oh yeah.
smiles. They don't even go to these things, but they came to support me and they came to celebrate my birthday with me. And also, again, this milestone achievement for Sacred Ground. So it was just such a surreal, wonderful moment that I know I'll never relive it, but it was one that definitely stood out in my life.
And Sacred Grounds, it seems like a very deep name, and it's a very fitting name for your movement, for your
Mhm.
collective. Um, Tell us a little bit about how you came up with that name and what that meaning is for you.
So when Ruben and I, we were brainstorming at Ruben's parents' house, and we were sitting on the porch, and we were just, just like any young adults, young kids at that time, we were envisioning all these great events, with our favorite DJs, DJ Dan and Mark Farina. We weren't booking these guys yet at all, but we envisioned it, and we saw these things happen. And we were thinking of names, and his brother Raul, which is part of Sacred Grounds as well. Um, he was coming home from college, I think, and it was he came up and he was like, "What are you guys doing?" And we told him we shared, with all our energy, and he was like, "Man, I think I would know a name for you guys." And he was like, "You should call it Sacred Grounds." He was like, "I think that would be a great name." And I was like, "Sacred Grounds," I started thinking in my head, and the wheels started turning, and I'm like, you know what? Because we're dancing on sacred grounds. Like, yes, like you said, there's
Oh yeah,
there's a deep meaning. So it's like this is what we hold sacred. This is what we need to have sacred in our generation. And with something that deep and something that meaningful, you have to have a lot of respect and you have to have a lot of care for it. And you have to make sure that you do it right so that it can become sacred. You know what I mean? Because calling something sacred doesn't make it sacred. What
right.
makes it sacred is the experience and the journey that we're on and how we hold it up so high to make it a sacred ground.
I really love that. I really love the fact that you you keep it intimate. It's definitely coming from the heart, and anybody can go throw a party and have fun and collect some cash
Hmm.
at the door and you know throw some good tunes down. But like you said, like it's the overall experience and your journey, like from start to finish. Like you're just able to just go in and release and enjoy yourself and have community and listen to great music, killer vibes. And so I really connect with that intimate level of throwing events.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we've always, when Ruben and I were really doing it together, and then we also had a big old crew. Sacred Grounds, when it first started, we had up to like 20 something people part of it. And it was a collective because I would have, excuse me, I would have never been able to get to where we're at by myself. So
Sure.
I will always give homage to the people that were always there. And then there were certain people at different times to be able to help me keep it going and to be able to be a part of it and to help me and share my vision and understand, where I was trying to take it. And, we got really huge at one time. We were getting 2,000 people, at an underground party. And to get 2,000 people in the late 90s and the early 2000s, it was really unheard of because electronic music, especially house music, wasn't where it is today
Right.
as accepted like it is in everyday society. So, one thing we really kind of promised each other and we promised ourselves is like we're not going to sell out. Number one, we're going to stick to what our ideas will always be. And the reason why I bring that part up is because, like I said, you have all these people that want to have input because they want to be a part of it, and we would always try to give them input, but we always kept our core vision and our core values at first, front and center. because it happened to me, and I can't deny that, where I've allowed outside people to come in, and next thing I'm
Yep.
like, okay, those are some good ideas, but then next it started veering off, and it started going into a different direction, and then we had to pull back and then get back on that road to where we
You
wanted it
almost
to
have to
go.
you almost have to treat it like a business.
Right.
There's a fun time, and then there's an
Hmm.
actual like business back end office type of shit that you have to like start delegating and start putting
Right.
structures in place for decision making. How was that experience for you as you guys grew? You said you had up to over 20 people. I can only imagine, you also said like, you start bringing in people and the
Hmm.
vision starts getting sideways. How did you keep the vision with your team, and how did you uh, what did you put in place to keep that train going forward?
Well, one thing that we did establish and early on is what our roles were. My role, I was the main person. I was the main person in Sacred Grounds, so I was the director of everything. And then we had the resident DJs, which was Ruben, and then later on Lou came in, DJ Lou. So that we had the resident DJs, they worried and curated the music. I curated the event. I delegated the jobs with the promotional crew, and that's what a lot of them were, promotional crew. They wanted to play too, and eventually we did give them the opportunity to come and play with the residents. So that's how I was able to do it. I was able to just, we weren't really a democracy, but we were, because I did like have that input, because I didn't have all the answers and I didn't have all the great ideas. I did have really good ideas, but some of those good ideas became great because we had our crews who were able to see what I was talking about and be like, okay, yeah, we could take it to the next level by doing this. So that's how we were able to do that. And it worked out because our crew, everybody was very happy, and they were very satisfied, and they too shared in the feelings of looking out and like looking at the big crowd that we had and be like, wow, I was a part of this, I helped make this happen. And one thing that I always told myself is never to take that away from nobody, because I promoted for people before, and I know what it feels like for somebody to not give me a little pat on the back and be like, you're a part of this too. It was always like,
Right.
look what I've done, look what I've done. And I'm like, dude, you had like 10 promoters plus me helping you. You didn't really do this all by yourself. So knowing how I felt when I felt like kind of left to the side, I always said, I'm not going to do that to other people. I'm going to make them feel a part of it. I'm going to hear them out. And I'm
Empowering.
going to make them, yeah, and I'm going to make them feel like they are a part of it. And that's what one thing that helped me kind of corral the cats, right? You got to corral
Yeah.
the cats. Is not
I
making
think it's
false
I think it's really
promises to them,
important to.
but helping
Oh,
them understand. Am I there? You got
yeah.
me? I can
Sorry.
see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, man. Internet, right? Did you lose me again?
Hear you? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
There's a little bit of a glitch. Okay. Yeah, I think it's really important to make sure that when you have a team and you're building something, you exactly what you said, just making sure that people feel like they're part of something, part of the movement, and they're just not taking direction from one person. They're actually
Hmm.
part of the decision making, and part of the actual event from start to finish, and they're part of that creation. So I think it's very important to express gratitude and leave someone empowered, especially if they are helping grow your movement.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I was able, it wasn't always, I didn't have it. Like I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it yet. You know what I mean? It's like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So through learning pains and seeing, because there was learning pains with it, right? Because you have all these different personalities. So, and a lot of my friends were very strong-willed person, and that's what I was drawn to. And they're very creative as well. So they wanted their creative expressions heard. So I had to hear their creative expressions out if I wanted them to still continue to rock with me and do these shows.
I think it's very important that you what you just outlined is you don't know what you don't know, and you surrounded yourself with people that pretty much knew more than you, and you kind of guided them in the decision making and empowered them to be creative and express that. And I think that's very powerful with respect to team building and growing something. And you also stated like some of the learning lessons of different personalities and so on and so forth. What other
Hmm.
challenges did you guys experience as you grew, and how did you guys I guess, correct those types of challenges?
Well, there still are challenges, just like in any business. And you touched on that point about the business side of it, and there was a time where I didn't know how to separate the party from the business. I was like, I come the night of, I'm like, oh, I did everything I had to do now. Now it's my turn to have fun. Well, some of my friends who were part of the crew, they were able to correct me on those things. So being able to be open to hearing them, correct me too, I had to be
Yeah,
open to that. You know what I mean? And some of the challenges that I faced early was I didn't know, I was young. I knew I had something great. I knew I had a talent for being able to bring people together. I knew I had a talent to be a leader of men, because these are young men that I'm leading.
yeah,
And I had a talent to be able to listen to them. So when we started getting really big and we started getting the 1,500 and 2,000 people, well, the challenges were really not so much internal anymore because we respected each other and we appreciated each other. And we weren't afraid to tell each other we loved them, and we weren't afraid to
I love
accept
that.
criticism. You know what I mean?
I
And
love,
but the outside forces were sometimes greater than us, and the scene uh, back then, it wasn't as united as it is today. Everybody was very segmented and fragmented. People had certain connections with DJs, or when I'm saying people, I mean promoters, and they weren't really quick to share those connections. And it was a very much like I'm going to do it better than you type of attitude out there versus let's do it good and let's
together.
do
Yeah,
it better together, how it is today. So those are a lot of the bigger challenges that came from outside of us that we had to face. And then when we did get really, really big, there were bigger promoters than us in the commercial scenes happening in LA, running the bigger clubs like Key Club and Avalon and all these other big clubs, Florentine Gardens. And they saw these young guys pulling 2,000 people, so they wanted a piece of that, and they
yeah,
saw where we were building and what we were creating with the artists that we were bringing out. So they were trying to like, okay, how can we get Carlos to bring his crew in so we could monetize off that? And I wasn't dumb. I knew they wanted to make money off me instead of with me. You know what I mean? So I was like, push you away, and so
yeah.
that's how we overcame it. I was able to keep these guys away from me, but not create enemies at the same time.
I think I also think it adds, you're also declaring your value too. When you say no,
Yeah,
you're also putting your foot down, and you are standing behind your actual name, sacred grounds, man. You're not willing
yeah.
to out, and you can see right through the wool on that shit.
Yes, exactly. And some of these guys who are bigger promoters than me, I'm still friends with them, and they totally understood what I was doing, and they understood why, because it is sacred. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not here to. Yes, it's a business, and yes, of course, we want to make money, but that's not the end point for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And their end point was to make money. That was their business. They wanted to make money. Well, I had a job. That's how we were able to afford this
Yeah.
because we all had jobs and we all put our money together. So just keeping it sacred, never selling out, never having the need to like, oh, I'm going to do Avalon or I'm going to do the Mayan one day. Those are never my goals. Those are never my dreams. My goals and dreams were, I want to have Mark Farina and Doc Martin play one day. I
Right.
want to have Danny Tenaglia come play for me one day. I want to have Little Louis. Like those were our goals. And they
Yeah.
were always based around the music and not the business. Not we're going to be an EDC one day. No, we're going to keep sacred grounds. We're going to keep it sacred, and we're going to bring the
Yeah.
artists that we know that are the leaders and pavers
I love it.
of
I
this
love it.
generation.
You said something earlier too about when you're younger. Uh, One of the challenges was delineating the fun time with the business and
Right.
keeping it separate and making sure, just making sure that you stay focused. And I myself, I know I've been carried away before. I've been throwing parties for 20 years, and
Mm-hmm.
there's nights I don't even remember. Like I got so fucked up, but then once I started really being focused and not being a shit show and not
Mm-hmm.
overindulging at a party like a couple parties ago, like a couple years ago, I decided just to be sober during my parties. And
Mm-hmm.
it was at that moment when the power went out, and the cops showed up at the very same time, but they weren't connected with each other. But those two instances happened at the very same time, and I was able to be calm, collective, and just making sound decisions as a business person and
Hmm.
treating it as business during that
Hmm.
specific event, I think it's very important to understand if you're an event curator and you're hosting this type of stuff, there needs to be a level of professionalism that you have to carry throughout the whole event. It's just not just through the promotion and the start of the event. You have to carry yourself through that whole event through takedown and making sure that you're sound and responsible.
Right, right. Back then, I was able to, I didn't really indulge the way I have in past years, right? At the beginning, because it wasn't actually my own money. My family actually used to invest in our parties, my uncles, some of
That's,
my aunts, so I knew I had like, and the way my family, the way I was raised, like we don't mess around with that stuff. Like if they're gonna trust us, and that's what it comes down to,
well,
they're investing tens of thousands of dollars into us. I had to be sober. I had to show them because they were there, they're watching me, and they want me to succeed, of course. That's why they invested in us into what we're doing and they believed in what we're doing, but they're watching too to see how we're handling it. Like you said, the business side. So they're like, okay, if you're going to do this business and you're going to, spend 40, 50,000, $60,000 on a show, you have to run it like a business. So that's what I did. I didn't indulge. I was always the man behind the curtain. And I always really put the responsibility on my own shoulders. And that's how come we had it the way we had it with Ruben and Lou as the resident DJs. Me and Raul, we were the team that were running the show. Raul took care of the finances. He took care of the door. I ran the party. I was the concierge to the artist. I was the stage manager. I was the person contact for our production managers. So I was, I had to keep that sober mind. But there was a time where it wasn't always like that,
yeah.
where I kind of lost control. And in order to be able to understand that, I had to recognize it, right? So I had to understand where the failures because we started failing, and I'm like, okay, we're doing everything right. What changed? What's different? Well, what's different is I'm all drunk now
Yeah.
and
You
I'm
get
not
sloppy.
watching my door.
Yeah.
And then and then people don't start trusting you anymore. You know what I mean? Because they see how your behaviors are and they see how your attitude. So I had to make some behavioral and attitude adjustments in order to get it back on track so that
And
it
when you
can be
did that,
successful.
did you see a drastic shift in your
Oh
growth?
yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think it's a direct reflection of how we treat ourselves and how we're processing things internally and what's going on internally with us. When we're connected and we're in alignment, then
Hmm.
things flow a lot easier.
Absolutely. And then during those times too, you got to take inventory of the people who are around you. Like I said, at the beginning,
So,
we had a great group of people. Then there was another time where I had other people around me, and they were there to party, and I'm just going to be real with myself.
yeah,
They were there to party, which is great because they helped me promote and all that stuff. But came time when I needed help doing this or doing that, they were getting faded and going to party. So, I had to recognize that too. So I had to pull away. I stopped doing the shows for maybe a year or 2 years. And then I came back. And then I met my wife, Sarah. We were dating at the time. And she's totally like, she's not a part of the scene. She's not like anything. So when I was doing it, she saw it as the business, and she was like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to treat this like a business. There's no, oh, we're having a good time. No, if you're going to do this and you want me to help you, you want me to believe in what you're doing, you need to treat it like a business again. So that's when the change kicked in, and that's when the success started happening
it's
again.
so amazing to have such powerful support with you. Syra and like myself with Stacy, like just having our wives being able to keep us grounded and direct us and identify the blind spots that we're not
Yes.
with respect to throwing the events
Hmm.
or going out to party and gigs and stuff like that. So um, I really value that.
Absolutely. And Syra, I went from having a 20-person crew to now it's just Syra, myself, and my friend Omar. We still hire people that come in and help us out,
Sure.
but now they're just hired people that
Yep.
we need to help, so we hire them. But the core crew is Syra, my friend Omar. Omar does production. I'll do the curation and the creative directing, and then Syra helps out with the business side. So then we'll hire door people and we hire bartenders, and Syra will oversee that. So we created a really good triangle, like the Lakers had, the triangle. It works for us. We have our triangle, and I'm very grateful, and um, I have so much gratitude for Sarah believing in my vision. Because she's very business minded in her own sense, but she has her own goals and her own
Yeah.
dreams, and she takes time from what she's pursuing to help me, and that means a lot to me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And are you still working full time? You have a job and you
Yeah, yeah.
doing like tapering that off and going full time into music?
No, I tried full-time music and, I gave it my go and I really learned that I love what I do for a living. I do graphic design. I have great clients. I work in the entertainment advertising industry. So I still work in entertainment, but it's just a different type of
Got it.
entertainment. Now, when I do the shows, this is like what I do for fun now. I'm not like if I could, and if I could turn it into a business, great. But I always want to do creative design. That's just in my heart. I love that.
Right on, right on. What do you have coming up in the next like year or so? Any big
Um,
in the
well,
works?
Farina and I have been talking, texting about doing something. We were hoping to do something this past March, but I just got put on a new team. So with my work, with my career, I have a bunch of people that I'm responsible to, and of course my clients. And the world that I work in, we're deadline driven, and we're working with really really huge budgets with my clients. So I got to give them my all, and I got to give them everything, my full attention. And I tried to balance both, but to be successful at both, like I would need to hire somebody to really come and run Sacred Grounds for me. Because in my past, I thought, and I tried it and it worked for some, but some things, just like in anything, if you put too much effort in one thing, you're going to slip up in other things. So I started slipping up into my career, and that's how I feed my daughter. That's how I feed
Yeah.
myself. That's how we take care of ourselves, right? So I had to take care of my bread and butter. So with my new career path that I'm on right now, I'm like, I'm just going to focus on this. I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to see where it takes me. Well, within 7 years of me getting into the art entertainment industry, it's grown crazy, crazy, crazy grown. So, this is what I love. This is what I'm going to continue to do. As long as my company that I work with has me, which they believe in me 100%, which is great. And what's interesting is my manager, my director, because I'm a manager, she's the director. She's not a manager anymore. She's a director. Congratulations, Terry. She actually heard of Sacred Grounds, and she's been to Sacred Grounds. And some of my other colleagues at work, they've been to Sacred Grounds, and they know what Sacred Grounds is, and they know about house music. And to them too, I'm like, I want them to see and to know that I do take my work,
Yeah.
my professional work. Not to say Sacred Grounds isn't professional, because it 100% is, but this professional side is going to be foremost and front and center. And I'm going to still do my
Yeah.
other things, but I won't allow it to interfere with my work.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's definitely important to have balance, and I can surely attest
Yeah, too. You have a career.
getting thin. Like I had two gigs this weekend, and I played at the end of this morning at 4 a.m. So I'm trying to get recovered here and get ready for tomorrow. So I firmly believe, like, balance is,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to get through all that. But uh, have you ever like ran into someone? I know you said I think your boss, she heard of Sacred Grounds, but have
Yeah.
you saw someone that you worked with or didn't know anything about your music side? Did you ever see anybody at an event like just like
Um, back in like 2006, I had a party with Mark Farina. It was like Memorial Weekend, and I was working for an advertisement company in Orange County, and there was a bunch of young people there, and I remember I never used to go to the door. Like I would just never go to the door, because you know how it is. You get
yeah,
bombarded, everyone's coming to.
everybody knows you at the door?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's your best friend. So my one of my partners in the events at that time, he was in charge of doing the drops and stuff like that, and he couldn't do it. He had to go to the restroom. So he's like, dude, can you go do the drop? And that's one thing we're very good at too, is really sticking to our time schedule and sticking to stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I'll go do it. The party was already packed. So I was like, nobody's probably coming in no more. And it's probably about, 4 in the morning already. And I go to the door and I see one of our managers in a different department, but he's there with his friends and stuff. And I'm like, oh shoot, I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, he sees me and he was like, hey, girls, how what are you doing? How do you know about this show? And I'm like, oh, dude, yeah, I know the DJ, and somebody's like, this is his party. And he was like he
That's
had
so
no
funny.
idea, and he's like, wait, you throw events, and I'm like, yeah, man, this is my show. Don't tell nobody.
It's
But
so
yeah, that
funny.
was the instance. Yeah.
Such like an awkward moment, like someone finds out, like
Yeah,
whole different side of us. Oh,
yeah, he was like, you don't tell anybody I was here either. He
we'll
was
keep
like,
our
but
little secret. You guys make the eye
yeah,
contact meetings on Monday morning.
eventually, he did tell a few of our mutual friends at work, and one time we all went to lunch, and he brought it up, and then everybody's like, yeah, he was telling us. I'm not gonna say his name because he's probably listening in, but he was like, yeah, such and such was telling us, you had an after hours. And I was like, an after hours? Like, yeah, you hosted an after hours? And I was like, oh, yeah, like, I was helping some friends out, and I just kind of downplayed it, I was like, oh, yeah, you do the show. And he was like, dude, this guy's throwing like the biggest parties in LA right now. And I was like, oh, shoot. And then, of course, they wanted to get invited.
Right. There's a humble side, but like not only that, but from a professional side, it's the rave scene and like what we do has a perception. It could have a negative perception in the professional world. So
Right,
it becomes a hard discussion, uncomfortable discussion when it's not even
right.
about that, but you have to get through that when you're having that ice breaking part of the conversation and like, oh shit, yeah, this is what I do, you know,
Yeah, yeah. You know,
parties,
at,
getting
at first I was very like nervous, and I used to always really try to avoid it, like if it was taboo. And till one day, one of my aunts told me, she was like, never be ashamed of anything that you do. If you ever have shame or if you're like shy, like don't do it then. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be proud of everything that you do. And and if you do it well and it's successful, then you should be happy to share what you do with everyone because you're not doing anything wrong. You're bringing joy and hope and happiness into people's lives. And like the song says, even for just one night, if I can lose control and let everything go, then so, and I'm like, wow, if my aunt is telling me this, who I love and I appreciate, I'm like, okay, it's okay to do this and not feel the taboos and not feel ashamed or anything because at that time society wasn't as accepted. Now you could go into a grocery store and hear a Derek Hart or Danny Tenegula track
yeah.
playing, over the PA. So, it's everywhere and everybody knows about it.
I absolutely love that what you just said about not being ashamed and just spreading joy. It's actually a reflection of you. This is what you do, so we should not be ashamed of who we are for sure.
Yeah, exactly, man. Always do and be yourself and be proud of what you sell, of yourself and the things that you do. And Syra of recent has been a very big influence in me. And I growing up, like everybody else, we have traumas and stuff like that, right? We go through certain things, and I held a lot of things in that I didn't know I was holding in. And she helped me like really get through those things, and then discover what it was. And then once I discovered it, I was like, okay, that's why I'm feeling a certain way, and that's why I'm holding myself back from doing certain things. And then once I would discover what that is, I faced it head on. No matter how hurtful or whatever that experience was, I was able to accept it, and now I moved on. And then it created even more joy. And now when I go out, I'm like just full of smiles, and people are like, "Oh, you're always happy now." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm just happy to be here and to talk to you right here, right now." So it's a joy.
Hell yeah! The other day you posted something about what's your favorite emotional support song.
Yes, yes.
There's a really good thread. There's a lot of comments on there. What I don't recall seeing your response. What is your emotional support song?
I have several. I have several house music songs that, depending on what I'm going through at that moment, I know I could turn to certain songs. But one that I can share that I actually did share one on there. It's Gabrielle by Roy David Jr. and Pivot Everett. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to mess his name up. And I remember my cousin Ruben playing that song one time, and I was going through some stuff. I had just broken up with my daughter's mom. Like, how things hit you in three, right? The things that, so I got hit with my three at that time, and we were in his bedroom, and he was kind of consoling me. but he was playing sets because Ruben always plays music. You know, we can hang out, but Ruben's gonna play decks, and there's decks there. And then he just played Gabrielle, and the way he brought it in, you know, I just let it out. I just started crying, and you know, I was just like, and he hugged me, and he was just, you know, we shared that moment, and that song will always be dear to me for that moment of being able to share it with Ruben and having that hug. He ended up crying with me, you know, and he was like, "You're gonna be all right, man. It's not the end of the world, you know. You're gonna be all right. You know, you're gonna get through this, and I'm gonna be here with you." And he was there with me through the whole time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Our song, my Stacy and I, our favorite song is Kings of Tomorrow, finally.
Oh,
And
nice.
we
That's a
actually
beautiful
that
one too.
too.
Man,
That
that
song just
song,
always brings tears
the
of
keys,
happiness.
once you hear the keys come in, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm like feeling a little bit broken up right now just thinking of that song. That's another one of mine as
It's
well.
a
That
truly beautiful song. I also like You by Tyus Schwartz.
oh yes, yes, yeah,
That's
that's
one
an
of my
yes. No,
time jams, man. It's just so deep, and like it just talks about the pure power of someone that is like really connected and aligned with you.
yeah, and another one for me too is Dream Machine by Mark
Yeah.
Farina. That song when it came out, I was going through, basically I had some friends in the crew and we ended up parted ways because you know, addiction is a very real thing as well, right? In this scene and in life, but
Yep.
more so in what we do. You know, a lot of people don't know how to cut it off, you know, when it's time to cut it off. And then some people get involved in other things that, you know, sometimes they really do need professional help to get away from those addictions.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of people in the crew. I have a very personal experience with addiction because my brother was addicted to methamphetamines, and I saw what he did to my mom, you know, and I didn't appreciate, you know, how things were done, and my mom enabling him. So it was really personal to me, and it made me really angry. You know, like I used to get. I mean, I'm from Compton. I grew up in a physical world, fighting all the time there, you know, in the hood. And you know, I used to go after my brother, and I used to cry because I didn't want to do that because I love him, but I knew it was beyond him. It was the addiction, right, that had a hold of him. And so when these friends, you know, they were addicted to meth, I ultimated them. I'm like, either you're gonna choose the drug or you're gonna choose me, who I'm gonna try and help you. And if I need means I need to help with monetarily and help you, we'll find an addiction center. Whatever it is, you could come and live with me and you know, stay here and don't pay rent and just get, you know, get
Yeah.
healthy again. I'm willing to take that on. And they chose the addiction. And I just remember that song coming on, and I was just like, "Wow, so powerful!" Like, and it touched me. You know, it really did touch me, and it helped me get through those times because I love these people that, you know, I brought into my life, and to have them, you know, choose addiction over me. And again, I knew it was the addiction that was in control of them, but to deny the help, you know, and the love that I was offering them, it really did take me, you know, little bit to get through that. But that song definitely helped me get through it. I mean, that sucker, back then I had it on CD, so I was in the CD changer and I would just put it on driving home from work, you know, and I just listen to it. But that's a
How,
beautiful song.
do you have one song on your USB right now in your collection that like you just know is a fucking party rocker?
Yeah. There's this song that from um, Hector Romero produced. It's called Yeah. I played it actually when I played with you in the camp out
Yeah, I
party.
remember that
I
track.
played it. Yeah, that track, man, that gets everybody because it speaks to the crowd, you know. And then when the music comes out and it goes into the acapella and she's talking to the crowd, you know, it's so funny when you see the crowd actually answering back. You know, I love that reaction. And then when the bass kicks in, it just sets it off. So that's the song.
Yeah, one of my favorite songs, kind of going back to the heart connection is my buddy Hytham. He's on the chat here too. I don't know if you have had a chance to meet him back in the day, but
Hmm.
he showed me a track by Ralph Gum.
Hmm.
Basically, like it's a woman talking about like you think about a guy, but then it becomes it's about house music. She says, "Happy anniversary, house music,"
Oh,
and like
nice.
when the fucking bass hits on that shit, and it's like very chill and like vibey. So
Hmm.
it's not a party rocker track,
Right,
but
right.
it's definitely just a vibe, deep vibe. And like when she connects, when you connect those words and she says "Happy Anniversary House Music," all those feelings of like all the labor of love that we put into and all the experiences just come full circle in that moment every time I hear that fucking tune.
Nice. Yeah, I just played the Hey song on Friday at House Music Fridays. I played down in San Diego. So I know what you mean. I just got back today from San Diego. But yeah, that I haven't heard that track. You're definitely gonna have to share it with me. I would love to
I'll
hear
send
it.
it to you. I'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you.
Oh yeah, man. Well, hey man, we're just about wrapping up. You have any
Okay.
last minute items you'd like to leave the crowd with?
I just want to thank everybody who taken some time out just to hear little old me speak with Aaron. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys all continue to support house music, wherever city, country, state, wherever it is that you find yourself. Go look for that little hole in the wall. Go look for that little house song instead of going to that big, expensive nightclub. Find out where the little locals guys are playing, and go support house music. And in your own town, keep supporting. And all the Aaron's peoples out there up in Sacramento, I look forward. I hope I get to come and share some music with you guys. But till then, keep
Yeah,
supporting Aaron. Keep supporting what he does. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
appreciate you, brother. Much love, man. You're truly gem, dude. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, man. Give my love to Stacy.
Will do. We'll talk soon,
All right.
brother.
Talk
Peace.
soon. Bye bye.